Bird's Eye View.
Okay, hi everybody. Welcome back to Bird's Eye View. This is episode number 9, and we have quite the show lined up for you today. As far as working from home goes, still very happy with the way things are going with our team. And despite what Dr. Perlon said, we're not going to rush things. We're going to just take our time. We'll just keep doing what we're doing right now. So TBD on any action there. As far as today goes, like I said, I'm really excited. David Forteau is a hip hop educator and performer. He's a public speaker. He's a branding and marketing consultant, and he's an artist, developer, and manager. And he's going to bring one hell of a perspective as far as living in Toronto, as far as Black Lives Matter goes, as far as living through the craziness that we're living in right now. And I'm really excited to welcome David to the show. David, welcome.
Hey, glad to be here. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you for coming. And I'll tell you, it's a crazy world, and I was told you're a crazy guy. So the two go hand in hand. We're just happy to have you.
For sure. I'm definitely the guy.
David, I know that you grew up in Toronto. You followed the wrong path at one point. It's certainly going to lead to, I guess, a bigger part of our conversation. Why don't you describe your upbringing and I guess, what led you to eventually lead you to where you are today?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, like you said, born and raised in Toronto, specifically Flemington Park. And a large part of my childhood was, I would say, very sheltered. I went to the same school for the entire duration until I was going to high school. And I was a very small school. Moving into high school, though, I felt like a small fish in the big pond. I was lacking identity, lacking that persona, something that would stand out from the crowd. So I decided to take it upon myself and emulate things that I saw throughout my childhood, which was my brother as a role model, people in my community, rap culture, and to be honest, like gangster culture. That was like something I was very heavily exposed to at a young age. And I seen things at the age of 5 that people should never see, And I kind of thought that was the way to be, that was the way to go about it. And especially if I wanted to be different and stand out, that's the way I should take to kind of become. So starting in grade 9, I joined the gang, and I spent my entire high school kind of career in this lifestyle, which I can tell you honestly, like I'm not proud of. I didn't really have anything to show for it. I didn't leave high school with any awards. I wasn't on the honor roll. I didn't have anything special to say, but it took until myself getting beat up by 15 people in a crowd full of 500 and not one person stood up for me to help me out at all. The minute I opened my eyes, I saw a police officer, fireman, and my principal, and I knew I was in shit, right? But at the same time, like the fact that I realized that no one helped me out, no one was there for me when I spent this whole time creating a friendship, family, sort of say, someone that would be there for me. When the going got tough, they got going. And that kind of opened my eyes completely. So I decided to change my life around, which wasn't easy, right? But I joined programs, something called Breaking the Cycle. I started talking to my community, started talking to other communities. I got hired by a company that took me across Canada to spread my story, spread awareness on anti-gang, anti-violence against women's lives. And that kind of helped me shape myself into a more substantial human being, you'd like to call it.
So where you're at now, I mean, I just rattled off the 15 different things that you are right now. And I didn't even mention the fact that you're a dancer, I guess, well, hip hop performer, I guess I mentioned, but you've certainly made quite the life out of what was originally going down that wrong path. So what brought you there? Just recognizing that it was the wrong path, or was there more to it?
Yeah, I think it started off with recognizing that I was on the wrong path, but it shifted quickly into, okay, what kind of skills do I have from this past life, and what can I utilize and reframe into the life that I want to have? So, I'm good at hustling. I'm good at working hard. I'm good at networking and talking to people. Like, where does that kind of skill set lie? Should I be an artist? I tried rapping. I was terrible at it. I tried singing, playing guitar, instruments. I didn't have the knack for that, but I knew I like to talk to people, right? So when I was doing the motivational speaking and talking to crowds and going to different schools and sharing my story, it gave me that element of performance. I was a little bit more theatrical than the next performer. Sometimes I was standing beside police officers and they're spitting off facts and data about the city and how bad the crime is, and I'm there like trying to make the kids smile and laugh during that difficult conversation to keep things a little bit less tense. And I realized that I loved the theatrical side of things. I love performing. And when I found a couple people that I thought were doing something illegal in this mall where I go to all the time, Scarborough Town Center, I kind of followed them down this path. I was like, yo, what are you guys doing? And they actually ended up telling me that they're break dancers. They dance and they teach people how to dance, and they have a community center called Tropicana. And that was something that I was like really interested in. I always wanted to try dancing, you know, I wanted to be a gymnast, and it was a perfect opportunity for me to start fresh. So I had actually asked these guys, I'm like, hey, like, can you teach me like a 1-2 move? Like, I'll pay you guys, you know, like whatever it takes, because I'm used to getting initiated. I'm used to getting heard no, you know, I'm used to the limitations of life. So when I asked these guys openly and honestly, can you teach me? They had no limitation. They were like, we'll teach you whatever you want. Boom, it's free. Let's go. Let's start this. If you're ready to learn, we're ready to teach. And from that day on, I never stopped dancing. I've been dancing for 15 years. I was able to travel the world with my passion, dance for people, backup dance for artists, be in music videos, movies. And I opened a studio to give back to the community. And I think that all of those things was my desire to have something to show for myself, to say, okay, cool, like I'm not wasting any more time. I'm actually a positive member of society. I'm helping out the youth, and I'm also pursuing my passion. And I think my love of hip hop went hand in hand with like that whole entire experience, because it's all through the culture, right?
And I think it's interesting that you got the opportunity you found that where you could direct that passion, you could find that outlet, you know, and it wound up being dance. You tried all those things, and you know, you thought they were doing something illegal. It was quite the opposite. Although if you ever saw me dance, you'd say it should be illegal. You know, but if you could speak to the fact that you found that outlet, but you know, particularly as it relates to Black Lives Matter right now, there's so many people that are having a difficult time because of the systemic obstacles that exist to find your calling, to find the opportunities that exist out there. Wouldn't you say that you're maybe you're the aberration rather than the rule?
100%. 100% agree with you. I think it's you know, it's disheartening to see how many people have to go down the path that I went to even see that there's another way. And it's tough to see people like not even being able to pursue like a new identity or a passion. They get stuck in a box, or there's no opportunity, there's no programs, there's nothing readily available for someone that wants to even attempt to pick up a hobby or a talent, right? So I think it's unfortunate, right? Like there's not enough resources out there that kind of educate and share that knowledge. Like I actually stumbled upon this in the mall, because I just literally frequent the mall every Friday. I would go there, my buddies, hang out, watch a movie, chill, try to talk to girls, you know. And then I found these people, but it's like they were always there, right?
You had to stumble upon it almost rather than, you know,
exactly.
finding it. Yeah. So if we focus on the Black Lives Matter issue at large and what we're dealing with right now as a society, and whether it's Toronto or in the States or worldwide, really, there's different intersections in the experience of life as a Black person. You alluded to it already. I mean, there's several intersections in your own experience of life, never mind your community at large. But as far as the gang behavior goes, how does exhibiting that type of behavior influence your education or perception from other, you know, cultures or careers or food?
A lot of people in my position, or people that grew up in the neighborhoods I grew up in, people that look like me, I think a lot of the misconception is that there is no other way, right? If you're a low income, and let's say you have 5 brothers and sisters in the home, and you got to provide, or you know, your dad may not be around, like my father wasn't around. It's like, what else are you gonna do? You walk into a store and you want to work minimum wage, and they tell you no because of the color of your skin. It's like, well, what else are you gonna do, right? So sometimes I think that the youth are going out thinking that they're gonna pursue the only option that they think they can get from what they hear in the media, from what their own experiences are, rap culture, and the things that they're exposed to a lot of the time. Because like I said, like my community was unique in a sense where it's like almost like we're boxed in like a cage. Every group of buildings, we call them like complexes, because there's like 3 buildings, and in the middle of it, it's like a little park, and there's like a thing, but it's made to kind of keep you in, right? I never went downtown until I got a job downtown, until I was 17 years old. I never needed to go to Eaton Center or downtown Toronto. It just never happened for me, right? So it's like, I think these youth are not only being boxed in by their community, but also what the media and what the people of power are kind of instilling upon them through the media. And it's tough, because you're not going to think that there's another way. You're not going to think that, okay, if I dress differently and I go to a community center and I learn how to write a resume, that I can potentially get a job that these other guys are getting, right? It doesn't really seem as feasible. So,
and that's the systemic part of it that's problematic, right? Is the fact that that's, you know, the system makes it seem like there's no possibilities. I think the reality is that there are. I think that more people, and I think more brands and more companies are actually going to make a objective effort to make, you know, whether it's hiring Black people or people of color in any way, but certainly people in the Black community right now, because it's going to be part of a mandate moving forward, hopefully that changes the system, but that's what it needs to take, because otherwise, if you do just listen to the media or you do just listen to what our politicians are talking about, it doesn't seem like there are many opportunities that exist, right? When you're in that bubble.
Exactly, 100%. Like, and I think that's, it has to come from a higher level, like you said, because at the end of the day, it's like, if you don't have access to it and you don't know about what's out there, you're not gonna try to do anything differently, because you've only heard negative things and you've only been exposed to negative things. So why would you risk what you have or what you know to try and be better when you don't even know if that's actually better, right? Yeah. So like, I think like the lack of awareness on both ends, and the lack of, you know, like you said, the brands need to do better and jump on board and say, well, look, I'm not just hiring you because you're a person of color, but because I believe in your skill set.
That's right.
Or I believe that you could sit at the table with someone that I've worked with for 10 years or 15 years.
You know, listen, we're an ad agency. Marketing and advertising and art in general is certainly something that, you know, we spend a lot of time focusing on. You talked about the rec center in Scarborough, that it was an important part of your, you know, personal story, finding passion, career, success in your own life. Why are spaces like that so important for anybody, but particularly for troubled youth?
I think space provides safety. It's almost like a circle of trust, right? Because if I go into a space and let's say outside I'm known as a big bad gangster, or I'm known as like, you know, like I have something else going on in my life, but I come into a space where people kind of think the same, act the same, feel the same, and they're there for each other as a support system. It gives me that weight off my shoulder. It's like almost like I'm checking my own baggage at the door, and I don't have to bring my shit in to like disrupt the space, because I like the space. I don't want to lose that space. If I go in there and I cause trouble, then I don't deserve the space.
And now
so
I don't
feel like, so I think that's a really important reason why people need space. And I think that there should be more spaces like that, so that people can have a place to, you know, unpack their issues. And even if it's like on a support level, or if it's on a creative level, just spaces in general, I think help a lot.
Well, and then further to that point, art itself helps people to unpack things, right? And to express themselves. Mm-hmm. And it's becoming a very effective form of protest and or education, as we're seeing, not just in your traditional forms of art, such as graffiti or, you know, painting or drawing in general, but also on social media and various mediums, and which would be considered art these days, or even in dance.
Yeah.
A lineup of police in LA and people dancing in front of them as a form of protest. Like, it's, you know, people are finding different ways to unpack their emotions, aren't they?
Yeah, I think that's powerful, and some people may not understand it, may not respect it, but I think it's like a self-healing, right? If there's thousands and thousands of people protesting, and then there's cops at the front line, you don't want to attack them. It's not your first idea that comes into your head, right? It's like you want to unpack your feelings, and I feel like if you have the necessary skill, or you have the desire to do it through expression, I think that's beautiful.
And that's where people wind up resorting to violence, is where they can't unpack it and they don't know how to express it. And so then they do it through violence. I mean, that's the human way for thousands and thousands of years, I think, right? If you can't talk it out, fight about it, right? That's where hopefully we can find, we can all express a way to a solution here.
Yeah.
Jalen Rose said that if only people love Black people as much as they love Black culture, you know, the world would be a better place. And that quote really resonated with me, because I think it's true. I think that you see within the white community, you know what, every community, this love and appreciation for the Black culture, whether that's music or art or whatever, or sports. But I think they have to make a distinction between cultural appreciation and cultural appropriation. So where do you think that line is? And where do you think people have to learn this distinction and apply it to knowledge in their lives, whether they're white or anything else other than Black?
Yeah, no, that's a really good question. I think it is a very fine line, and I think especially social media has stretched that line super thin. If I want to know how ghetto Black chick dresses, I can Google it. I can look on social media. I can literally type in twerking, whatever hashtag I want. I can type that in. I can find the information. I could process it however I process it, and then go and act the way that I think they act and become like that person, right? So I think the problem lies with the lack of information and the lack of awareness behind where things actually come from, because a lot of people are abusing that power of everything being readily available, taking the knowledge and not understanding where it comes from, or not respecting that, and just going off and doing what they want for their own self-interest.
Respecting the history as much as anything.
History, right? Yeah, exactly. And I think it's a problem for sure.
Yeah, and I hope that changes, because it's always something that's, you can't just pick and choose what you want. If you're going to appreciate something, you can't just appropriate it, right? And that's really where the problem is. From a marketing and or business perspective, as you see in your business, you see any positivity that's going to come out of this in the way of new opportunities for you, additional opportunities for you? Are brands going to jump on the bandwagon for the right reasons and, try to either right their wrongs or, virtue signal, show support, show solidarity? Do you think you're going to see opportunity that way?
Yeah, definitely. I think right now a lot of brands play catch up in general, like, because you'll have the pioneers and the people that are kind of forward in culture make the necessary changes early. But then I think that now, because of everything that's going on, a lot of brands are taking a look deep within themselves and figuring out like where they stand. And if they're on board with the movement, I definitely think that they're going to start actually taking action and not just talking about it and having discussions amongst their groups or their team leads. They're actually going to be, okay, cool. Why don't we just go and, let's do the work. Let's find the influencer or the marketing specialist or the brand rep, and let's look at people of color. Like, why not? Like, why haven't we been? Right?
And it even goes beyond just looking at them, right? Like, this is the opportunity for companies to actually listen to the voices of Black creators or artists or whatever it may be, in order to understand how to be better, particularly in this situation moving forward.
Yeah, I agree with you, and I hope that that's the case across the board. I'm not doubtful, but I'm not gonna just assume that they're all gonna do that, right?
We gotta hope it's not a fad, right?
Yeah, that's the thing, because I mean, people of color have been oppressed for so long, they've been segregated, they've been pushed away from the mainstream for so long, that if now that there's opportunity, I don't think that everyone's just excited because it's all going to change now. I think everyone's kind of hesitant, and we're just waiting to see how it plays out.
Okay, so tell me, Skylar, for one, we're a diverse company, certainly, but I would never say that we're at the forefront of leading the charge on the Black Lives Matter movement. Mm-hmm. But we're all always looking for ways to support, to creatively invest in the movement in and of itself. And I wouldn't even say, at gender equality, Black Lives Matter, LGBTQ plus, rights and opportunities that exist there. We're always trying to figure out how to stay on top of it. And it's challenging because for a business, you have work to do, but you're also trying to do the right thing. What do we do? What does Skylar do? What do other brands do where, we can help to promote the Black Lives Matter movement, but to do it in a way that's authentic, where we can, we're not pretending to be something that we're not.
Fair. Yeah. And I think, well, to speak to you guys specifically, like, you're doing a great thing right now. Talking to me, we're having some informed conversation. This is as genuine as possible. I think people view this as like a risk, like, what if someone says the wrong thing, or what if it paints your company in a different light and people want to work with you in the future, and all that stuff is valid. It makes sense. But I think that brands especially need to understand that this is 2020, like, it's time to move past all of the thinking and, like you said, take action, right? Because if you guys are having more conversations, you're having people sit at the table with you and inform and make decisions on your behalf, and and you're not holding back because you're afraid of what's going to happen to your image, I think that's a necessary step that everyone should take.
It's like anything in life. If you get the elephant out of the room, you can actually make progress on something, right? But if you don't talk about it, nothing happens.
If you want to support the movement and you're passionate about it, then like how you guys are doing podcast episodes, I think that's great. Like, you guys are creating a platform and you're using your voice because you're passionate about it specifically. Like, it's your own genuine thought, and to get it out there, that's powerful, right? Because some people just they'll ask their Black friend, hey, what do I say, or how do I word this? Or I've gotten a lot of messages recently about people asking me, like, what's the right way to approach it? Because I want to support, but I don't want to, like, screw up. And I'm like, well, people might be mad at you. Like, you could say something and someone else, not me, someone else could call you out for it. But that's part of this whole thing, right? It's about being yourself. If you want to show that you're not racist, or you're not, you're against the movement, or whatever the case may be, it's like, you got to be authentic. Yeah. And people let open up, because the thing is, we've been open for so long and dealt with so many situations that it's only fair, It's like kind of like everyone's getting their side of it. So
for brands especially, it's like you said, that if you've done something a certain way for a long time and it's worked for you, but you haven't been involved, now is not the time to pretend that you've always been involved. Just, you know, you can show
Exactly.
support, but that's about it. And I think to a certain extent, that's where we fall. I mean, like I said, like, you know, we've never been proponents of any particular movement. We've just always kind of just believed in diversity, which is why I'd like to be involved, but I don't want to pretend to be the, you know, the catalyst for change necessarily, although I would like to be one, you know, if we can be, as much as I can be.
No, for sure. I think you're doing a great job. And I think that's what it's about. It's just identifying where you sit and how you genuinely feel and just being able to articulate that.
Yeah, I appreciate that. So listen, it's been an amazing chat, and I feel like we could probably do like a 3-part series together on this.
Totally.
I want to try to close this off. Through all of the pain and craziness and chaos that's been going on, you've got to have, I mean, given all of your experiences, a funny story to share about whether it was in quarantine or whether it was related to trying to work, doing your type of work in this type of environment, something that you can share with us?
Well, yeah, I mean, with I think it's with quarantine most likely, because the last, I guess it's been, I don't even know how long it's been, like 5 months so far. It's just like, I think my entire life just flipped upside down. It really speaks to like the level of resiliency you have to figure out, okay, well, what the heck do we do now? Because no one would have thought that everything would have went the way that it did, and you couldn't really predict that it would be in this, the world would be like this, right? And I think, like, I remember waking up one day and I'm like, what? I didn't even know what day it was. I didn't know what day it was. I didn't know what time it was. I'd probably been playing video games for like 4 days straight, and I just was like, is this okay? You know, like, I have so much to do, but do I?
But yeah.
And I was just like, a lot. I didn't know. Yeah, that was like last week. So
well, I'm glad we could bring some structure back into your life, because I know today is Thursday. So
yeah, 100%. I gotta thank you guys for that. You know, this has got me back on my feet. Got me use my computer again. You know, getting it going, getting it back into the swing of things.
It was a real pleasure to talk to you today. I really appreciate you coming on. I found it really insightful, and I really hope that other people do as well. And I encourage, if anybody wants to reach out to David directly, you know, we'll link to him below in the comments or in our caption. Please reach out to David, follow him. He's a great follow. He's a pretty funny and interesting guy. And he's even going to teach me how to dance. He promised me that. Stay tuned for that.
Nice. All right. Thanks so much for having me, and appreciate you guys.
All right. Thanks, man. Guys, that was amazing. Really happy that David came on, got to share his real life experiences with us. I think that by listening, but again, by engaging in dialogue, like he said, it's the only way we're going to make progress. It's the only way we're going to make progress in the Black Lives Matter movement, but really every movement. And I think that's what we want. We want progress. Thanks again for joining. I'll see you next time. Take care.
Bird's Eye View.